Welcome aboard Free Dive with Seapoint Digital, your go-to podcast for deep dives into the world of digital marketing. I'm Christy.
And I'm Anna Lynn.
Your hosts navigating through the currents of growth, strategy, and innovation in the digital realm.
We're going to talk. We're going to laugh. It's going to be a good time.
Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Free Dive podcast. I'm your host, Christy Billingsley, and today I have a special guest, Kyle Figueroa from Figueroa Electrical.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Thank you so much for being here, Kyle. I invited Kyle because I was so excited when I found his Instagram. You're an electrician, yes?
Right. Well, electrician, also an integrator.
Yeah. It seems like you're a little bit of a master of several things, and I'm going to let you tell your own story here. But I got really excited when I found you online because I was really impressed with the way that you run your social media, because it is so rare for me to come across contractors that know how to use the internet in general. I mean, I have so many contractor friends that tell me they don't have the time, they don't have the knowledge, they don't know how to do so much stuff that I see that you know how to do. So I have like a million questions that I want to ask you, and just get to know you and your story. So where to start? I guess let's just start from a bit of your journey. Like, how did you get started in what you do, and what do you do? What's your business? Let's start with that.
So for sure. So basically, I've been an electrician for a little bit under 20 years now. I kind of got to a point where I worked for a company. I kind of saw the writing on the wall in the sense that I understood that they were never going to pay me enough to live next door to them. So it was one of those things that I started to see that I'm like, okay, I need to start creating an exit strategy. And that's when I first got into Instagram. I was a huge Facebook guy for the longest time. I got onto Instagram and, I started following a few other local electricians. And what all started it was a friend of mine posted up a video that companies sent him free tools.
Oh.
And he's showing pictures of his work and things like that. And in my head, I'm like, my work's 100 times better than that. If he's getting free tools, I can get free tools. So,
yeah.
One thing I started to do was that then at that point, I started looking around to a lot of different other people who are in the space. One of my great friends that I consider him a brother, that he was a huge page on there, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, was my friend Adam from Completely Cordless. He was doing it. He's doing tool reviews and did a lot with stuff like that. And so one thing I noticed was a common theme was that everyone had like a logo. Everyone had a brand, right? Everyone kind of had something that exemplified them.
Yeah.
At that point, I set out, excuse me, I set out that, you know what, let me start to brand myself. And I understood what that meant. And so I set out, I kind of came up with the logo, and, I went to somebody, I had them design me a logo. And from there, I started to showcase who I was. And, I built a lot of my following and my brand based off the acronym of PRIDE, which is personal responsibility and delivering excellence. That's something that I really prided myself on, pun intended, right?
Nice.
And it was one of those things of that, we ended up, so it all started with me kind of wanting to get free tools. And so I started to do all these different things, and I started kind of really showcasing a lot of my work. And I started showcasing a lot of tips and tricks that I've acquired while being in the trade. And what ended up happening was fate, in the sense of that a lot of young apprentices at that time were then started to reach out to me saying like, hey, I really appreciate you putting out these videos. Like, my foreman doesn't teach me. I'm not being taught. Like, I've been doing this for so long, and I just feel like I'm not far enough of where I should be in my trade or in my journey. And what ended up happening was that it turned into a point where I realized that there was a big gap, or there was a big, a big void in mentorship that a lot of kids just did not know, like, hey, like, how do I find or how do I learn this? Like, no one's teaching me anything. And I ask these questions and I put myself in these positions, and yet no one's trying to help me.
For sure,
And
yeah.
it turned into me starting to kind of really start to share a lot more of like my experiences and sharing a lot more of my work and sharing a lot more of my feedback, things that I did that have helped me, progress into the trade and things like that. And obviously it grew a following. A lot of people ended up, kind of really supporting it and kind of getting in line with the vision and things like that. And eventually it led me to finally making the decision to start my own company. And then at that point, the brand that I built up, people now knew me and associated that brand with the work that I do. And so
Okay.
it really helped me make that exit.
It's so interesting you talking about branding because your brand's like your name, right? Like I'm Christy and you're Kyle, and that's how people, know us. And your brand, and like you're saying, like having a logo, it's like it really identifies who you are, and the fact that you were able to like identify that was like so important in getting you off the ground. And then also seeing that there was a void for this mentorship, and how that really, like you being one of the first to do that, like created such a big like area for you to grow. That's so interesting to me. So do you think it was super important for you to learn how to use the tools online um uh properly? Like, do you think video quality was important? Do you think learning how to use Instagram right was important, or did that stuff not come till later? Were you kind of uh learning as you went?
So it was definitely learning as I went. I think back when Instagram was a much different then.
Hmm.
I think a lot of the times the way how the algorithm work and understanding the way and how the trends were at the time, um, it was much easier to create content back then. I feel
Yeah.
now is that it's definitely an ever changing landscape where you have to stay up with the trends. You have to do this new trendy thing, and you have to do this. And that's where, because I'll be totally honest with you, when the trends when reels started going to effect, I had a big drop off because it was something I couldn't get behind, and like where it's like almost like the old dinosaur part of me wanted to kick in the sense
Yeah.
of like, well, this worked for me, so I'm going to keep on doing it. And
Yeah.
so but it just didn't. Like it just killed my engagement, killed my outreach. And a lot of people don't understand that you kind of have to evolve with it a little bit. Like you have to evolve with it, right? Um,
Mhm.
so when I first started, you know, for me, I realized at that time long format was probably the the right way to go, where people were the way how the algorithm worked is that the way how it showed up on people's pages is that if you had something flashy, it wasn't like these quick 5-second reels or 3 seconds that you had to get to capture someone's engagement, then you just kept on scrolling. Like everyone's like so quick with the swipe, right? Back then it was you were on people's pages and you were engaged onto that page, and the way how content was and the way how content was created. And so therefore I felt content was more value. So I think it was a
Mhm.
lot more information. People were kind of looking at it for more information, whereas now it's basically like, I to a certain degree I feel it's almost become mindless in the sense of like,
Yeah.
it's something quick, fast, and easy. It's that quick dopamine hit of like, oh yeah, that's nice, and just keep on scrolling and just keep on scrolling. And so like you have these engagements of like 1 to 3 seconds,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where content is now. And so a lot of my friends who have very successful pages and that they're also trades guys and that they've made tremendous followings on TikTok and all these other and all of these other social media platforms. um, I've noticed with them, their success is in consistency. They will just
Yes.
post, and not even so much as like they'll post high quality content. in the sense of like where it's of high value, it's of like um a large, like, they have a film crew, they have somebody that's doing editing, they're doing all these other different stuff like that. It's them like setting up their phone, they'll just keep on recording, 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 and they'll just keep posting, 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 posting,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they'll post anything about their day,
Yep.
like, and oh, hey, wait, I'm waiting on an inspector, or hey, this is my service call, or hey, this is the way how I fix this is the way how I fix that. And
Yep.
they'll have tremendous engagement and they have tremendous success from it. One thing that I did with my content, and which is probably what you're alluding to, is the fact that I leveraged high value content, which is meaning that hiring a social media crew and somebody that's coming out, that they're coming out with cameras, they're coming out with lighting, they're following you around on a project. You're kind of going in with a poster board and kind of laying out as far as what exactly it is that you're doing within your day. What's the content, like what's the storyline, right? Your I use that to rebrand myself.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that I was an electrician first, and then we got into a whole brand new landscape, which is the integration portion of it. I needed to rebrand myself of like, I'm no longer Figueroa Electric, the commercial electrician. I am Figueroa Electric, the all-in-one solution. And we
Mhm.
specialize in luxury integrations and automations, and as well as electrical systems and lighting design. And we started showcasing a lot of our work that way. So the way and how you convey that luxury brand is by you creating luxury content. Like, you're creating the content that coincides with where it is that you want to be, right?
Yep. Yep. So that's one of the things that in marketing, especially in contractor marketing, that people don't always see the value in spending money to make money. So, you hiring a social media crew to come in and make this high value content, what would you say is the return on investment in that? Was there one for you?
I mean, absolutely it was. It's because the thing is that it has allowed me to now showcase. And that's the thing, is people don't understand that social media is now the new word of mouth. It's a new calling card. It's the
Yeah.
new advertising. And understand that through SEOs, and everyone's on their phone, and everyone's typing in like local electricians near me, or hey, someone sent me your post because and that's the thing, is a lot of people, and this is where understanding the way how social media works, and that people don't understand that Instagram and just the way how you have the caption in your name is essentially SEO.
Oh
So if you
yeah.
notice in like, for instance, like in my name, I'll have my name, but then I'll have luxury, Lutron, Ketra, Control 4, home automations. The reasons why I do that is that because that is, if someone goes into a search bar and they say, oh, hey, this is what I'm looking for, they type that in, boom, here's my name associated with that project or associated with all these other different things, but I'm just an electrician. So now they're
Right.
seeing, okay, now let me kind of go into this. And so people, or yeah, it shows up on their explore page because now their algorithms have now changed. And so people don't understand that, it's as simple as that. It's no different than after this. I'm sure that with things that I've mentioned, you're going to go on your phone and all of a sudden you're going to start seeing Lutron ads. You're going to start seeing this. You're going to start
Right.
seeing that. It's,
Yep.
it's just the way and how it works. And people just don't understand that that's
Mhm.
such a massive tool.
Mhm.
Um, I think for me, a lot of the success, and I've had tremendous success in that because it's now opened the doors where people now see us as that all in one solution. And so
Mhm.
therefore they will now reach out to me and saying, hey, I love that story that you did, or that's a really cool automation that you did. You're like, hey, I want you to come work on our project because our last electrician, he's just an old dinosaur. All he
Mhm.
does is just like, black and white make alike. We really want to start getting into this luxury landscape. We just feel that, you know, um, uh, everything we do is so elevated, but our electrical just falls flat. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
through the work that I've done. And now they're seeing, oh my God, I never knew you could do that. Or, hey, I've never seen those types of finishes. Or I didn't know that this was even available. Like, I didn't even know this was even a thing. And, through that, now you're educating a whole new generation of clients, you know?
Right. Yep. Have to know it exists in order to know that you might want it. So you have to be able to show that. Yeah.
Well, that's why we're the professionals, right? That's the
That's
reason why
right.
you contract us. It's our job to stay up with the trends. It's our jobs to know what's out there. It's our jobs to know what works and what doesn't, and provide you
Mm.
the best solution.
So, um, how much time do you spend, and how do you find the time to spend on your marketing versus everything else that you do? Yeah, let's start with that.
So initially, when I started my business, I did a lot of the social media content creation myself, and so
Yeah.
therefore I would constantly record, and I was doing all my own editing, and it zaps a lot of your time. But
Yeah.
it was also the fact of that I was always somebody that liked to provide high value content. And so
Yeah.
even from when I first started, I always looked at it as like a movie, right? It's just like,
Mm.
how is it that I want to do to kind of engage somebody? How is it? So like for me, it was always, high quality graphics, you know, editing, music, and sound effects, all these different things, like things that just kind of like grab you. Because the thing is that like you got to also understand your demographic, who it is that you're appealing to, right? So like for me, it was that understanding that a lot of my demographic when I was building my page was because for me, I was looking to attract, the kids that needed help, and so therefore I had to think the way how I basically put out content that I would like, and
Yep.
that's what engaged me. And so like
Right.
therefore like I would use music was like my biggest thing, and where a lot of like old school hip hop, like R&B, like just all these different things, but these tracks with these really really nice graphic intros, it just, oh my God, that's my tune, like that's my song. And people would just stick on for the song, and they're just like, oh, that's that. And like they would, you look into a lot of the content, a lot of the comments in the beginning of those videos, and then you would see people that they would just finish the song lyric. You know what I'm saying? So it was something that was just so cool. Um, so in the beginning, it took a lot of my time. Then, like I said, as business kind of started to kind of get going and I started to become busier, that's where content creation kind of got very, very hard for me.
Yeah.
And then at that point, the algorithm changed. That's when Reels came apart.
Yep.
And Reels was really hard for me. Like Reels, because it completely went against everything that I was. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'm all about these long videos. Like it was so different, and
Yep.
carousels and all these different things. I was so big on it, and it went against everything, and I hated it. I
Yep.
hated it in the beginning, killed my
Yep.
engagement. I just went to like crickets. And but at that time, I my business was in a transition. So I leveraged that time to basically pull back,
Hmm.
and I took like a 6 month break from Instagram.
Okay.
And in that 6 month break, I focused on building up my business as well as getting myself educated on how Instagram was working and what the
Oh,
trends
okay.
were, all these other different things, and understanding what I needed to do to adapt. When I came back, it was something that I understood that I needed help, right?
Yeah.
And so therefore I sought out, and oddly enough, another great friend of mine, John Mahue, did a podcast. Um, and the guy who made the video was my friend Ernesto from Aguila Media. And Ernesto, I loved his style. Loved his style. It was like super cool, super unique. And that's another thing too. It's like you got to realize people that are like your style, what it is you want to try and create, and things like that. And I realized that this is the help that I needed. And
Mhm.
I actually went out, but then at that time, my wife and I have been talking about, doing a podcast, and which people don't understand, like podcasts are probably massive for your business as well.
Mm.
I think that if you are okay with talking in front of a camera and you have something to say or something of value to actually provide, having a podcast is great for your business, just
Yep.
because it helps your clients to get to know you in a different way, as well as, like I said, back to SEOs and things like that. So what it is that I ended up doing was that I ended up creating a contract with him, and where he did all my editing and filming for my podcast. He did all the content creations for my other businesses. And so like it was like a monthly subscription that I invested into. And
Wow.
if you're gonna do something, do it like, buy once, cry once is kind of like my motto, in the sense
Yeah.
of that, you know, and it's like anything else, right? Like when you think about entrepreneurship, it's like how often are we just walking through the dark praying we're going straight,
Mm.
and there's a lot of that investment that whatever it is that you put into it, you're only going to get out what you put into it. So if you just
Definitely.
think that I'm just going to pay for it and that automatically I'm going to like, oh, well, where's my return? Well, if you're not sharing it, if you're not promoting it, if you're not collaborating, if you're not doing all these other different things, then all it is that you did was just pay for some high quality like cinematography. That's about it. But
Right.
it's like spending all the money on a movie budget, but then never promoting it. So
And it sounds
that's
like you
kind
were
of
really good at educating yourself on your options and the tools at your disposal, and then making educated decisions from there.
for sure. I mean, you have to, right? I mean,
You
it's
have
one of
to.
those things is that like it's investing, it's money, right? If it don't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, right? It's one of
Right.
those things of that you kind of have to adapt that entrepreneurship mindset. And I think that that's really where a lot of the old contractors or contractors in general, this is a very scary landscape for them, because the thing is that it's a digital
Yes.
world. It's something that they don't see, right?
Yes.
I think for the most part, a lot of people are very used, and this is just something within people themselves, is that they want something that's tangible, something that they can touch and say, I provide this, I have this is what I get from it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like I go to the grocery store, I buy this piece of grocery, I eat it, I live another day. And but it's just like versus like I give you this money, you create this content for me, we push it up on social media, and then it's just like,
Mhm.
how do I know that this has helped
Yes.
me?
Right.
In which, a lot of people, if they don't have a website that in place, if they're not tracking where they're what's bringing in their clients and things like that, if they're not doing that additional part of that's going to kind of tell you, okay, where should I be putting my efforts? Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people get so sucked in and like they'll spend all the money on Yelp and pay per leads and stuff like that. And you know, which to me Yelp's like the biggest scam in the world. I absolutely hate Yelp. Don't even get me started on Yelp. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things of like it's a quick race to the bottom, I feel, for a lot of people. But
Mhm.
for me, where a lot of success that I've had have been marketing through Google, have been marketing through Facebook ads, Instagram ads, leveraging other websites such as like Nextdoor, where for the most part, a lot of this marketing and sharing of content, it's free. It's free
Yeah.
for the most part, to kind of get your foot started, and you can get your foot in the door and just kind of getting like the reps in of learning and how to share content. Same thing like LinkedIn, like and being
Yeah.
able to establish professional relationships through LinkedIn and sharing videos and sharing these contents, and understand that there's more to business than like, oh hey, I just need to just do this. Like, well, no, like you have to put in the groundwork in first. Like make sure that you have a good web page, make sure that you have something that's going to a funnel, essentially, like what's going to
Definitely.
take a cold lead and funnel them to your page and now create them into, a client. What's your funnel?
Yep. So, and you touched on this briefly in a couple ways. How do you think and I've seen this on your stuff. How do you think collaborating with other um businesses, other people, other products, I don't know if you do sponsorships or you were talking about in the beginning you were hoping to just get stuff. How have you done that? Have you done it well? How has that helped you?
Well, Jesus, I've done it pretty well. I mean, I've established a lot of great relationships. I've been afforded a lot of tremendous opportunities in the past 4 years. I mean, I've had trips where flown out by large tool companies, and doing events with them, and received tools, and honestly, like, tremendous experiences, and where I've met some tremendous people in my life, like things that I will never ever um that I never thought possible, right? Through social media, that social media has afforded me that, right?
Yeah.
I've really have some great memories, and have really established a lot of tremendous relationships. Look, even right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a
Just through
relationship that,
networking.
yeah, through
Yep.
networking, and obviously, um, becoming meeting you and following you, and stuff like that. And then it's just things just happen through social media, and that's just what
Mhm.
really what it is. Um,
Yep.
and so, like, obviously you saw value in me, I saw value in you, and that's why we're here collaborating right now. And
Yep.
so I think that that's super, super important. It's networking, and that's really where the success lies. It's in how much you're willing to collaborate, how much you're willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
um, and like I said to you, like I mentioned before, is that the more you put into this, the more you're going to get out. And so
Definitely.
it's one of those things where I was able to put myself in front of a camera. I was able to be vulnerable. I was able to be, people to see me who I am, right? And people are just like, oh, like, there's Figs right there. Like, Figs is stand up. Like, if Figs can do it, I can do it. And that's the
Mhm.
thing is, it's just like people who know me, or if they've never met me, they only know me through social media. They'll, anybody that will tell you, it's like the absolute change from when I started to where I am today. It's
Mhm.
an absolute 180. Um, and so you're able to do that, and a lot of it has come from me being putting myself in positions with people that I've met on Instagram that are in higher places than me, and
Yeah.
and surrounding myself with those people. It's you know it basically forces you to level up. Like, it's either you level up, or you're just not gonna you're not gonna last. You
Mhm.
have to
Yeah.
you have to rise to that occasion.
Yeah. So, how are you managing your time? Because you do so much and you also have a big family from what I hear. So, I mean, you've
Yeah.
got the podcasting, you've got your business. I mean,
Time management, I'll put it to you like this, is that has a lot to go into a lot of the self growth that I feel.
yeah.
If you talk to any high functioning person, they'll never say that they're busy. Because the thing is that in all reality, we create our own schedules. So if we're busy, it's because we have poor time management skills. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't realize is that, and you know, feeling the need to have to get everything done right then and there. And that's something that I'm still trying to figure out. God's honest truth. I mean, like, it's one of those things that, um, it's, do I always feel like I'm in a rush, or I feel like I feel the need, or like you get the anxiety of, like, if I don't answer this call right now, I'm going to miss this opportunity, and this opportunity can be.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that my business is not going to shut down because I didn't text someone back in five
Definitely. Yeah.
minutes.
You got to be
Or
balanced.
correct. And so I think that that's just really what it is. I think that people just don't realize is that you make time for whatever it is that you want to make time for. And a lot of it just has to be with coordination and understanding, prioritizing what's important to you.
Hmm.
So therefore, it's one of those things of that, like, I feel with carving out time, is that if it's something that's going to put me in a better position and it's going to bring me closer to my goal, that's time worth investing. right?
Mhm.
Versus something that's not going to bring me closer to my goal, or it's not going to put me where I want to be, then I don't bother. It's as simple as that. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm too, like, you know what? I just don't have the time for that. And it's
Yeah.
simple. It's simple.
Do you think that it helps that you really like what you do?
I mean, you have to. I
I
think
think
I
so
think
too.
I think you have to. I mean, I think for any level of success, you have to be somewhat obsessed, right?
Mhm.
You have to. If one thing I always tell people that if you wake up in the middle of the night, it's because your dreams waking you up, and it's something that you have to work for. And so there's
Mhm.
times that I wake up in the middle of the night, like today being one of them. I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't go to bed because I have places and things I have to do and have to get to. So therefore, I go downstairs. I'll do training modules. I'll I'll do my billing. I'll do my estimates. I will do communication drills. I will do speaking drills. Like I will do these things that I know that are going to improve me and where my end goal is.
Mhm. So, what advice would you give to other tradesmen, contractors, especially ones that are just like, I'm not social media savvy. I'm not tech savvy. I'm not internet savvy. But there's obviously value in all of this. Maybe they want to be more. Where do they start? What should they do? Anything that you could offer as advice to them?
I think most importantly is that don't get so caught up on what Instagram is or what you feel that the value of the content is you're putting out. Because understand that something that you may think is dumb or something that you may not think is relevant or whatever, it could be absolute gold to somebody else. Some of the
Yeah.
things that I have shared were absolutely things that I'm like, oh man, I'm like, this is every day for me. But for some people, it's like, oh my God, this is something completely different. And I think
Hmm.
that people just overcomplicate it. I think this is where mindset and self sabotaging comes into place. Of that, like they feel so well. This is unknown. This makes me feel uncomfortable. I do not
Yeah.
want to pursue this because I'd rather not try and not have failed versus try and have failed, right? And so people are just afraid of failing. I think that if you are an entrepreneur, if you made the jump from leaving a W-2, right? Like you left that
Mm.
comfy security blanket of receiving a paycheck, you've already made the hardest decision you'll ever make, right? So at this
Yeah.
point, what's stopping you? Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, you get some troll and then just keep it moving. Just post
Right.
something else. Just keep posting. Like, just just
Yeah.
keep posting and just put it up there because you never know. And like that's one thing I always tell people. Like, in exactly like one of the things is like that I share a lot on like my page is a lot about mindset and a lot about overcoming and changing the way and how you think and the way how you see things, right? So, but the thing is that there's times where I'm super vulnerable. Now, as a trades guy, as a man, right? Those are things that if you're either one of those two things, and now forget about it. But the thing is
Mm.
that now by me doing that, I have now opened the door for other guys to basically be like, you know what, man, like I'm so happy that you said that because like I've been doing this, like, and there's so many different things, especially from like my own podcast that I opened up and I was able to be vulnerable about and understanding that people have then all of a sudden started telling about their story. Like when people just start to understand, that's a whole nother thing, like the whole mental health and with trades guys and stuff like that. I think so
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
are so stuck in their ways and they just feel that it's just so taboo or it's just all the stigmas that go behind it. And that's what just makes them paralyzed with fear of just trying something different. And don't like who cares just you know what I'm saying, it's a stranger like and 9 times out of 10 that stranger is going to probably end up becoming your biggest supporter. I've realized that people that I've met online have supported me in more ways than people that in my own personal life, and that's just what it is. And understand that like in sometimes in those relationships that you develop, you find yourself. You start discovering who you are and who it is that you're meant to be, and it's definitely worked for me in that way because I never thought I'd become this mentor. I never thought I'd be helping out young kids. I never thought that I'd be helping out men, you know, kind of address a demon in their life and
Yeah.
being able to be vulnerable and all of a sudden have a conversation with their wife, have a conversations with their family member who they haven't spoken to in 10 years and stuff like that. Like you just never know when you can inspire somebody.
And it wouldn't have started if you hadn't started, if you hadn't got past your fear, insecurities, and just started posting.
Well, you know what it was? It was like it's just my personality, right? I've had no problem with putting myself out there.
Mhm.
I think a lot of it I think a lot of it had to do with I think just being true to yourself. I think that that's
Yeah.
probably my biggest thing is that I think a lot of people get so caught up in doing what's trendy, and
Yes.
then when it's a crash and burn, rather than understanding this goes back to brand, who you are and what it is that the content you put out, that's you, and just understand
Yep.
that, and it's forever when you put it out, when you take that risk of putting it out on the internet, and it's there and it's there forever, and it's just being cautious and that's what I'm saying, that it causes for you to level up, because the thing is that if you can look back at a video and you can look back and be like, oh man, Jesus Christ, like that's who I was, or that's what I said, and stuff like that. And it really makes you really evaluate yourself. It's just like, well, you know what?
Yeah.
I should probably work on that. you
Yep.
know?
Yep. One way or another. Yeah. Well, that's
Yep.
good advice. That's really good advice. Yeah. Well, this was really, really good and really insightful. Can you give us all of your plugs? How do people find you? How do they contact you? Where do we find your
Uh,
Instagram?
well, it's Figueroa Electric and integration. Well, Figueroa Electric and integration, I think underscore.
Okay.
Honestly, we're just tagging at the post. I think I have to double
Okay,
check
we'll do
the
that.
writing on it, but obviously Figueroa Electric. Instagram is my name, my main place. Where I like to live, things like that. I also have another podcast out with my wife, which is called Resilient Roots, where we kind of really address a lot of the adversities of life, in the sense of that, between being, a mixed family, we're a blended family, stepfather, stepmother, high conflict, no conflict, having, being entrepreneurs, being a stay at home mom.
Mm,
We kind of really run the gamut on, topics in there. And then also,
yep.
kind of really overcoming a lot of the heavier traumas of life. A lot of that is kind of addressed into that. We also have another podcast that's called Hard Hat Horizons, where we kind of really open up kind of open up a platform for guys to kind of come on, trades guys or tradeswomen, that kind of a platform for them to kind of come on and kind of tell their story about
Awesome.
how the trades have saved them, and a lot of people don't understand that, like, and even for me, me being in the trades has really saved me. I mean, it's one of those things that I was a young father. I was able to provide for my family at such a young age, and it's given me the tools to not only support my family but for other families. And so it's just one of those things of that, um, understanding what the trades can do for you, and not being afraid to take the jump, right? Um, so those are my two podcasts. The other podcast that I work and collaborate with is with a friend of mine, Ernesto, which is called the Ponte Pilas. Which is kind of like digging your heels. It's a kind of like get going type deal like that. He kind of really goes through a lot of interviews, a lot of great people that have really overcome a lot of different adversities and kind of have found entrepreneurship and to a high success as well. So those are the podcasts. I'm on YouTube, not very active on there, but I still do have a YouTube, but you can still give me a follow. We're going to be start posting a lot more content on there as well. Figueroa Electric, everything is basically Figueroa _ Electric for the most part, in order to kind of find me. And yeah, that's about it. That's all the plugs that I know of right now.
Awesome. And we'll link it all in the show notes so people can find you. So, well,
Yeah.
this was great. This was so great, Kyle. We appreciate you. We love your story. We appreciate your time. So, thank you so much. And
Thank you so much for having me on.
it's the end.
No, it's not. There's more.
There's always more.
Don't be sad. You can catch our full video interviews on our YouTube channel. Come find us.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends so that we're not sad.
And follow us on TikTok.
And Instagram.
It'll make your day happier, promise.
And we'll know if you do it. Until next time.